Call this meeting to order. Roll please, Mary.
Showalter,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Thompson, Redland,
Here.
Howard.
Here. Everybody please join me, stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there anybody signed up for public comment? Craig?
Thanks for letting me come back again and talk about the progress of the hospital. We do have the year-end financials unaudited yet, so should be pretty close. We don't usually have too much off
Right.
between this and the audit. For the ending up the year, well, for the month of December and then the year, we had patient revenue for the month 3.5 million, year-to-date 39.7 million. And then after the contractual adjustments, what the insurance company says they're not gonna pay and all that stuff, we get to a net patient number of 1.49 for the month and 21.8 million for the year. Salaries for the month, 661,000, year-to-date 7.9 million. Total benefits, health insurance and other things, comes in at 895 for the month, 10.7 million for the year. That brings us then down to when we talk about contract labor, still having to hire some temporary staff. That's 148,000 for the month, 1.3 million for the year. Just to comparison, I haven't given you the budget numbers of this, but we had budgeted 800,000, so we're about $500,000 over budget on our contract labor for the year. So that's been a big expense. And unfortunately, I don't see a near-term end in that. We have recently contracted with 2 nurses that will be coming in through a visa program. So in the Philippines, they have both accepted contracts, and we've got all their paperwork, so they should be starting here shortly. That'll help us a little bit. Haven't fixed our respiratory therapy or our imaging area yet. We still have those areas to work on. Anyway, total expenses for the year 1.7 for the month, 1.7 million for the year 22, gives us a operating income, or in this case, a loss for the month of December of 207,000. Year to date, profit of or operating income of 407,000. Then we have our 340B and other things below the lines, tax programs, etc. So for the month ending December, we made $47,000. For the year, 2.5 million. So it's actually been a pretty good year, all in all. That budget number there again was 1.99, almost 2 million. So we're a little bit ahead of budget there. So that's all in all a pretty good year for the hospital, and it is good for our community. That means we can keep offering health care. So keep doing that, which we like. A couple of the things that we try to keep track of and measure, I think we've talked about this before, but salaries as a percentage of the net revenue, net patient revenue. Kind of the industry standard is you want to keep that below 55%. And which is still saying half of our expenses are, more than half of our expenses are just salary. But so the state average for critical access hospitals is 56%, and we are sitting right now at 49%. So part of that's because we have that high number of contract labor. If we shifted that up to the salary, that would bring that number up closer to the state average. But so looking just at that ratio, we're doing pretty well. The salaries as a percentage of revenue. The other thing we look at, is the trend in the industry that we're looking at, is the amount of outpatient services as opposed to overall hospital services. And we've seen this transition over the last probably, at least the last 10 years, but probably closer to 20 years, a shift from inpatient revenue to outpatient revenue. And I think I've explained this here before, but just think about it. I had my first knee surgery when I was a teenager. I had to spend a week in the hospital. That's considered an inpatient surgery. My second surgery, just a few years after that, was done outpatient. I literally walked around campus the next day taking finals at college. So, you know, it's just, that's the changes. We're doing more and more surgeries and those types of things on an outpatient basis, less admits to the hospital. So we're sitting at the state average about 74%. We're in our hospital 87%. So we have a pretty big portion of our services are done on an outpatient basis, which actually is good for the patient. That means, you know, less time down, you know, getting better. Also means we're doing better in our preventive care, and you know, preventive medicine is always better than reactive medicine. So, a couple other things we look at: employee turnover rate. The state average is at 19%. We finished the year at 17%. It's pretty close. That's not quite 1 in 5, so it's still a number to be working on and trying to improve. Our days cash on hand, state average is running at 92. The Kansas, Missouri combined state average is 108, and we're at 251. So we're doing really quite well on our days cash on hand. And the next one we look at is our gross days in AR. That's how long does it take from the time the patient walks in the door till we actually receive payment for the services. And state average again is running at 61.1. Kansas, Missouri, a little bit higher, 61.4. Not much. We're running at 44.7. So we're doing a really good job of collecting on the charges to the patients. Then the last number that I like to just to keep track of is kind of to help you know, all of us as employees and everyone understand what our contribution is to the hospital. So this is a number I measure. It's called revenue per FTE, and that's how much revenue does one full-time employee generate, and we're running right now about $30,000. So that's, you know, pretty much where we're at. So I don't really have a ratio to figure on that one. That's just want employees to understand that everyone's job is important. We don't do any of the services there without every single employee and what they contribute. So that's really what I have for the month. So any questions I can answer, I'd be happy to. Otherwise, we'll say thank you and conclusion. Okay. Have a good night.
Thank you, Greg. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda items. A, 1/16/2024 commission meeting minutes. B, 1/29/2024 joint commission meeting minutes. And C, appropriation ordinance 2024-03, 2024-03A, 2024-03B, 2024-P03, and 2024-P03A.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agendas item A, B, and C.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Showalter and seconded by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? I mean Redland, sorry. Any other further discussion? Mary, roll please.
Myers,
Yes.
Thompson, Redmond,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Yes. No presentations or proclamations, no ordinance or resolutions, formal actions. To award a bid for the Industrial Park Street and Utilities Project Base Grant. Kent?
Commissioners, we had sent out first we had received a base grant in order to do some work in the industrial park. EBH sent out the bid in December, and we received the responses back on January 25th. We received 3 responses. The bid tab is included in your packet. We had responses from Miller Construction Services, Smoky Hill, and Spore Land Development. Miller Construction Services was the low bid. And we had 3 different additives in the bid. One was some additional dirt work in order to do some drainage, basically moving the drain drainage pit or detention pond on the site, moving it into a little bit different location because of the street work that's being done. And the other two is the water and sewer extensions. If it was a maximum cost, there was a possibility one or two of them we could have done on our own. But with the pricing that's received, staff is recommending to award the bid to the low bid of Miller Construction Services. We had originally estimated, or we had put in the grant, the construction costs of about 1.5 million. So having a low bid of 890,000 and change is well received. Are there any questions or concerns? And I know that Jerry Niemanchek is here from EBH Engineering as well that could answer questions if need be.
One is the reason why we're seeing low bids, is it because of like when we like first did like the search on like materials and like the work that was on the project to now like maybe we're seeing some like prices go down, or
I'm not sure if it's that or contractors are hungry and they're cutting their bids, or
gotcha.
I don't think prices are actually dropping any for materials. They're
Okay.
staying about the same.
Thank you.
Andrew had included in an email saying that the quarterly bid averages from KDOT in 2021 was about $85 a square yard. In 2022, the fourth quarter of 2022 was $119 per square yard. So the estimate they had here was obviously a little bit. And then when the bid came in the way it did, with the concrete in the low 80s, it's cycling a little bit. So, and like Jerry said, could be that the contractors regarding the amount of work being bid versus the actual prices for it.
So how do the extra funds get spent? Do we have to return those, or do we get to use those within the project?
We'll have a little bit of discussion with the granting agency as far as the building a stronger economy, which is actually through Department of Commerce. So we'll have to have a little bit of discussion with them. More than likely, we will have to return those. There may be some additional costs we can include in that, and we'll be asking those questions once we get this completed. So.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know when the work would start?
They're looking at starting this work in June. It's the Caldwell project, that's a different time of year, but it's in June that they can schedule it for Miller Construction Services.
Do you know the times for Smoky Hill and Sporerland? Were they sooner, same time frame?
I don't think they gave a sooner time frame to be done. Don't have that immediate answer.
Okay.
I don't know if Jerry, if you have that answer.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the bid for Miller Construction Services for the industrial park in the amount of $890,482.50.
Second that.
Have a second by Commissioner Showalter. Any other discussion? Mary, roll please.
Showalter,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Thompson, Myers,
Yes.
Howard.
Yes. All right, moving on, the bid award for KDOT cost share project Caldwell Avenue. Cam?
This project is 80% grant funded by the KDOT cost share program. The grant award was for a maximum of $400,000 on the state's 80%. However, we ended up with less than that. We only had one bidder for this project, which was McCormick Asphalt Paving out of Stratton, Colorado. And they gave us a bid of $393,980.85, which was in the same neighborhood as the original engineer's estimate, with this type of project. It's, especially the time frame. They're looking at that they can be able to do this project and start in September 1st. And we said they would need to be done by September 27th. So it could get done before Flatlanders occurs in the fall. There's a little bit of additional information in the packets that was given to you, but in addition to what the bid, and since it's less than what was actually expected, project itself was expected, since the state's portion was $401,000, the total cost of the project was estimated at around $500,000, and it came in at $393,000, if I remember that number correctly. It's a little bit less. Remember, this project, we're going to be redoing the driving lanes and then the entire intersections from 10th to 17th on Caldwell, because there isn't as bad a pavement on the parking lanes. One block that there might be an exception to that is from 16th to 17th, because of the truck traffic in the former Gambino's restaurant. That it might be helpful if we could be able to do that as well. So staff wanted to request of the commission if it was okay to check with KDOT if we could add that in on the project, since the bid was less than expected, or quite a bit less than expected. So as far as from the grant application that we put in for.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yes.
And before we had put in an application to have the entire, I know that Kenton or Andrew had received a couple questions, why didn't we pay from curb to curb or put it in the grant application? Well, we were turned down on the grant application from curb to curb. So we went ahead with the driving lanes only, and we were awarded the grant. So we're looking forward to getting this project done and improving the surface of Caldwell Avenue.
Great.
So we'd have to come back and approve the extra if we went. if
Right,
KDOT
if
said
we
it's
a little
okay.
bit of, yeah.
Okay.
So you
But
don't want a motion tonight then?
I do want a motion
You want a motion
tonight
for that?
to go
Okay.
ahead and get this taken care of, because we're gonna do the main part of the project no matter what. It's really
Okay.
just,
Well, I'd make a motion then to accept a bid from McCormick's in the amount of $393,980.35.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Showalter, seconded by Commissioner Ridlin. Any other comments, questions? Mary, roll please.
Myers,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Olson, Rilla,
Yes.
Yes. All right, moving on to discussion items. Land Bank Policy Recommendation Housing Collaborative Committee.
we had presented some information about a land bank program that the city of Pittsburgh uses. In fact, there's a number of cities across the state of Kansas that use the land bank program, but this is one that had a lot of documentation and a lot of different things that was seen as an example. A land bank is a tool that can be used to be able to take dilapidated properties and be able to kind of maneuver them so that someone else can purchase the property and get it to a productive use. We had a number of documents regarding this example program. The city commission had sent it to the housing committee in order to get a recommendation, whether it should be pursued or not. They looked at it and sent a letter back saying they do recommend that the city adopt this program, not adopt, or prepare documents to create this program. And that's, staff needs direction at this point. Should we go ahead and create some documentation and create an ordinance that you guys could look at and consider to actually create this program? And it's just another tool within, it's not, some communities use it only for 1 or 2 or 3 properties, you know, at a time. Pittsburgh's is much more established and used much more frequently. But a lot of communities use it just in a small way. And it's not looking at doing a huge section of the city. It's really just on individual properties, looking to get it done. So
I certainly would like to see an ordinance of some type that we can look at. I think it's something else that we can do to try to promote housing developments or new homes in the area that is sorely needed. So, you know, if you can put something together, I would certainly like to have something that we could vote on at some point.
I'm on board too.
Yeah, I think that's what we probably need to do. I mean, we're paying to have the houses tore down anyway. We might as well maybe recoup a little bit of money that way ourselves.
could be.
So,
Well, it could also be seen as the property owners rather than waiting for something to be done
right.
to take action or initiate the action themselves.
I think we're in agreement to go ahead with something on an ordinance.
Okay,
Yes.
staff will work on the documents.
Okay, moving on to item B, drainage issues at the 1200 East Highway 24.
I just included this. It doesn't have a simple answer, but there's 2 complaints actually that have been received now. One by this property owner, one by the neighboring property owner. Similar issue. We have, and the drainage is not entirely the city's. And in fact, I haven't located it or what type of documentation is still in the city. There was a presentation 14, 15 years ago when Pioneer Park was completed, and we pump out the water from the drainage that reached Pioneer Park to the east side of the dog park. It travels down 19th Street, and then it travels the dirt road that goes by the Goodland KOA, travels north to the railroad tracks, and then empties into a ditch that's next to the railroad tracks. The complaint is regarding that some of that water is that's not the end run of the water. It then starts coming onto these 2 different people's properties, which I guess I'll just point out, I don't think you have a map up, but you know, this is Pioneer Park, gets dumped into here and then comes around here and goes on 19th Street, ends up on that dirt road, ends up in this area back here, next to the railroad tracks. So these are the 2 properties in question, which are east of the KOA. And there was a question back then. There was a presentation 15 years ago saying, what I've heard, that not all of the drainage is from the city. It obviously isn't. There's other drainage that location. Part of it comes off of Highway 24, and there's certain percentages. But I haven't seen the presentation to be able to see what that was all about, but I know that engineers looked at it once. But because of the storm, the city staff has already gone out there when it was raining quite often last spring. Kenton, the street superintendent, and myself, and Andrew from EBH Engineer went out and looked at it a couple different times. And they actually took video. And it showed the water staying in that ditch. Doesn't mean that's the best location for where the water ends up, but that's where it ends. But there's a berm that runs across there that's dry. But in order to have a better solution, or have a solution that doesn't affect these people's properties or what it says it's done, it'll take some more work. I just wanted to air it out, saying we're not going to have a solution. We're not going to have a solution tomorrow regarding this. It'll take some time, but we'll see if there's what the different options are, and then staff will be able to present if the city should do something, or what's the cost of a project if we go ahead and try to resolve it. The dam that's being basically caused and causes the water to sit there is caused by the railroad. But that's not an easy solution when the railroad's involved. So, but we do end up with some of our water ends up at that location. So when you have quite a bit of moisture, it ends up at that location. It's not, well, you can see what the complaint says regarding it, but it does need to be at least looked at, and that's what staff will do, and come back and give you some additional information about it. But since there was formal complaints filed, I wanted to bring it up and say it's going to take some time to be able to look at it in case the property owners contacted you.
Do we know if there was ever a culvert under the railroad track there? Is there a way that we can find out? When Rastus was still alive, he took me on a road trip down the railroad, and he told me that there was a culvert somewhere underneath the railroad in that area.
If there is, even if there was, one thing I can notice is the water that runs on the north side of the railroad tracks, that might want to go across and be on the other side and let that side eat the water. So,
Right.
That's the only thing I can see. If we discussed that, me and Kent, about that, if there was a culvert. It is a natural floodplain, it's all in the natural floodplain. I'd be nervous about I don't even think the railroad track would let us put a culvert under it.
No.
But if there was, there could be the possibility that water would go to the south side of the railroad track.
Yeah, because the elevation of the path of the water on the north side is actually higher right now than until you get to the county road 21, the next county road to the east there. That's at the same elevation, both on the north side and south side of the railroad tracks. But this area behind those properties is quite a bit lower.
Because I remember, 3 years ago, that this was brought up then, and I think EBH, I don't remember who looked at that and said was the natural flow was that way, and there wasn't really anything that we could do because that was natural flow.
There's some natural water that gets, from a lot of different properties from that end up at that location, because that's the low point. The concern that's brought up obviously is, we built a detention pond and we pump it out, and we pump the water to that location. So
definitely be nervous to put a culvert or anything on that area there, because I think there's drainage issues on the north side there as well.
It is, and if I would go back to the map, all the water eventually needs to get to the creek on the north side of town. That's where any overflow of water is trying to get to. But it has quite a route to get there, and we just have a small tailwater pit, basically, or detention pond at the corner of the railroad tracks and County Road 21.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There was something.
But then it flows out of there and heads north until it crosses, there's a culvert underneath County Road 21. And it ends up going east. It's real lush.
It runs east and it goes back through Hinger's pins there, then out onto the field.
And it goes on to the fields.
Yeah.
And the same property owner that's just on the east side of town, east of the college, is the same owner that owns the property at that location. Or that we have an easement with in order to have our property on the north side railroad tracks taken care of. It ends up in that field.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Kent?
You have your manager memo in the packet. I just wanted to mention a little bit of follow-up regarding the Child Care Coalition request that we had at public comment last time. Before it could even be brought up for the commission to say yes or no to what the request is about, there would need to be an entity, an entity that was met a lot of financial or legal considerations, whether that would be a 501c3 or another sort of designation, in order to transfer any property to. In order to have an agreement to transfer property, you would need an entity on the other end. Right now, what we received was a request from an advocacy group. People that are passionate about childcare. And it is an issue, but in order to be able to say yes or no to the request, there needs to be even the possibility of it occurring, according to either financial or legal considerations. In addition, if the project failed at all, there would need to be some stipulations in the agreement, what would happen with the ground at that time. So there's a lot of considerations. That's information has been communicated to the people that came and made the request at the last meeting, and they are in discussions the steps that they will take next. So until that happens, there really isn't an opportunity for some type of formal response from the city. So, and unless there's something else that the commissioners would like staff to get prepared regarding that.
Sounds good.
Okay. We did have a joint meeting last Monday, between the, Jake, did I miss having you speak anything, or you okay? Okay. Between the Planning Commission and the City Commission. Thought it went fairly well, and then the summary, wanted to let you know that the summary report from what was decided then, or that you gave information to Barb Cole with Community Matters and the other folks with Community Matters. They will complete a report that should be ready by the time your next meeting in the third week of February, and then the next steps following that. So, they should be able to put, where we're at and what are the next steps regarding the joint meeting, so. Any other comments or concerns regarding that?
Thought it was a great meeting. I was glad that we were able to sit down with them and talk about some things and agree on things in principle. I'm ready to see some ordinances. We can start signing off on some of these changes. So thank you for setting that up and getting that going.
You bet. Included at your places an example of a proclamation. Had Vice Mayor Howard ask me to complete a similar example to what has been passed in neighboring counties. Also received information from that our county may pass something similar, but I wanted to include an example for you, and if we wanted to include that on the next meeting's agenda, we certainly can. So I'm providing an example. Basically regarding different things that are occurring with immigration, and especially what's being reported to happen down in Texas at this point. So that.
Good.
And then we had a little contest. We gave you examples at the last meeting. I also want to include for you, we did ask staff for what they would like to see. Josh is going to make it bigger so we can actually read it. But we have 3 different loaders, 4 different loaders actually. And we had over 44 responses on one, 48 responses on the other, as you saw last time. These are the ones that were voted on by different members of the crew that actually end up in these pieces of equipment. Different members of the street department. But they have on their loader motor, the pusher wusher, and the bid bird. So the big bird. And then 4 others with 2 votes apiece.
I don't know.
That was actually a suggestion by one of the people. And then we had plow names. I don't know why Perry the Plow is. I think that's coming from a Disney movie.
No, it's from the TV show Perry the Platypus.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Glad I could solve that for you.
Thank you.
Mystery solved.
And then 3 others. The thing is, we only have a couple different plows. We have graders, but these are regarding the actual snow plows. So,
Sounds like we need to buy more equipment.
no. But of those 3 that are with 2 votes apiece, looking towards the commission to be able to tell us which one of those. And actually, we got another one at the airport, do we not?
From the slide, rather than seeing that.
Pretty nil. So really just one of the 3.
Do we have anything in place? Like once we get them named, are we gonna put the name somewhere, or don't know?
Well-
Haven't discussed that yet.
Seems like a
We'll
lot
have
of work
some
if we're
sort of
not putting
name
it
on the
name.
plow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But then,
I'm guessing on glass on the windshield somewhere in the scripts off.
Sure.
Yeah.
but what the other community that I borrowed this from, they end up with this naming contest every single year, so
Hmm.
for the rest of the year.
I think it's fun.
But if we could get the commission, if you guys could decide between one of those three with 2 votes, we'd sure appreciate it.
And this is for the plow.
It's one for one of the plows, yes.
Well, my vote's for Saltosaurus Rex. That's cool. I like that name.
That's one thing we can all get behind.
All right.
Source Rex it is.
It is, yes.
Also like license to chill.
There was some pretty inventive names among the whole thing.
Cleopatra.
Yeah, Cleopatra.
That's good.
But that only had 1 vote from
This was, you said 4th grade?
the 4th graders,
Yeah.
yes. So we're thankful for the participation from the elementary school. That was a fun deal, and thanks to Principal Rudolph and the rest of the staff there to help make it happen. So, and that's all I have at this point.
All right, moving on. I guess it's down to the commissioner's report. I'll start over here on my right with Commissioner Showalter.
Sure. So after our discussion, I think it was last meeting or the meeting before, we talked about Sunday alcohol sales. I talked to a community member who suggested that I reach out and talk to some of the liquor store owners to get their opinions on the ordinance, and so I did reach out to all the liquor store owners. I got the feeling that there was some mixed emotions on it. It was one liquor store owner was dead set against it, another was very much in favor of it, and one really didn't care. So I did invite all 3 of them to come speak during public comment to tell us what they thought, and so yeah, that was appreciate their input on that. That's all I've got.
Commissioner Myers.
Nothing at this point.
Okay. Commissioner Ridley.
Kind of in lieu of all of the planning commission stuff that we've been, talking about, and some of the things that we worked through for guidance in the last joint meeting, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to see, like, also from the perspective of like the contractors, like if we could see like what the city like the fees that we charge out, and see if there's anything that we can do to work in that aspect of things. I think that's, while we're there, we're already touching that. We might as well make sure that we're touching base on that and making sure that we're in the same playing field with the local communities as well, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Okay.
kind of, sort of.
I have nothing to report under the mayor's report, so I'll go ahead and make a motion at 5:43 to recess into executive session under authority of KSA 75-43-19B2 for consultation with an attorney for public body which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship not to exceed 15 minutes. I request the city commission, city attorney, and the city manager to be present.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Showalter.
We do go aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're in trouble if that was
Yeah.
it.
All right, I'll call this meeting back to order. Commission came out of executive session at 6:00 PM. Any action? No action to be taken? Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion by Commissioner Redland, seconded by Commissioner Showalter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
So can't